is a joint meeting between Unite Community and the People's Assembly Scotland. It's the third meeting that the People's Assembly's had on a variety of themes. Our fourth is a fortnight tomorrow, where we're going to have Professor Phil Taylor, who you may know from the report that was issued earlier this week about the impossibility of social distancing within call centres and the difficulties being faced by call centre workers when they challenge some of that. But there'll be more of that later. Tonight's meetings about universal credit is, I'm assuming everyone knows, both the People's Assembly in Scotland and Unite don't think universal credit in its current form should exist. It needs to be scrapped. We need to start again. However, we do have a duty to those people who are trying to navigate through the benefit system, and especially the millions who have come into it for the first time ever as a result of the current COVID crisis, that people know what's happening, know some of the pitfalls and so on. We did ask for for questions to be submitted, which our speakers will hopefully attend to. I do have them here. I'm not Chamberlain, these are real questions. And we'll begin through those. If, however, people have a general question that they would like to put to the panel, there's the chat column, and if they put it in there, and what I'll do is, I'll read it out and they'll hopefully be answered. If there's specific questions about people's own situation that they would not prefer, obviously not to discuss in a public forum, if we can get those questions to us, and we'll hopefully be able to get them answered timorously. I do know that we have people here who work within the benefit system. We have activists here who work supporting those going through the benefit system. And I think it's important that we're all here as trade unionists. We're all here as folk hopefully trying to make things better for folk. So I hope that if we do get into any conversations, that's done in a convivial, cordial manner. So, to the meeting, we've got two speakers tonight. We've got Tam Kirby, who's from, he's for Fife People's Assembly, he's for Fife Trades Council, but in his full-time position, he's the Fair Work Organiser for apprentices within Unite. He coordinates that activity, and I'm sure that he'll touch on some of that tonight. And we've got Maureen Close, who's also from Fife People's Assembly. Maureen I know it's hard to believe, but she's been an activist for a long time. She was actually probably best known for heading up anti-bedroom tax campaigns in Fife. And her expertise comes from actually being in the front line outside benefit offices, advising people who come in and ask questions at meetings and things like that. So by no means are they claiming to be experts in every chapter and verse, but they do have expertise in dealing with real people and real situations, with real issues and real problems. And some of those questions that they get asked a lot will be answered tonight, and so on. We've got questions. We'll use the chat. As Jamie has said, this meeting will be taped. It will be going out probably within about 24 hours onto the Facebook pages of both Unite and the People's Assembly. If you have any problems, you don't want to your contribution to be included in that taped video that's going to go out, if you just stick it into the chat box, and we'll make sure that you're not part of that. Okay, so Tam Kirby, I think you're going first, is that correct? Where has Tam disappeared to?
I'm here.
Yes. All right, oh, sorry Tam. Okay, sorry. You're going first, and then we'll hear from Maureen, and then we'll go into the questions we already have, and then take questions for the floor.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to just try and cover sort of the realities of now, but most importantly, what we're going to be faced with in a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, as furloughing ends and stuff like that. So there's some I mean, around this whole thing, there's some positive things happened. Obviously, the temporary increase of £20 to everybody on universal credit, ESA, that was welcomed. What obviously didn't change was people having to wait the 5-week period until they get their first payment, and so they were actually encouraged to take out the advance payments. And just on that, I just want to clarify, because I've had some questions to me about loans and repayments being put on hold and what have you, and that's true to a case. But anybody that actually went onto universal credit and took out an advance loan, they're still getting deductions for their universal credit now. What has stopped is the sort of debt recovery stuff that they were doing relating to overpayments to tax credits, social fund loans and things like that. Those things have been put on hold. And they're on hold until, at the moment, the best knowledge is until the end of June. So that may actually change, and they may actually come back on board again for a lot of people. And the other good thing is the whole regime of universal credit has stopped. There's no need for people to be searching for work currently. They're not having to go for interviews. They don't have to be available for work. But again, that's potentially all going to end on the 30th of June again, because this has only been put in place till then. Now, this is good news for existing claimants, because in reality, it's given existing claimants a bit of a break for the pressures they were under from all the job searching and especially from the sanctioning regime and what have you, and having their money suspended. It's also done a thing which is maybe a bit worrying, because it's potentially given new people who have just gone onto universal credit an untrue face of what universal credit is, and how that's going, and potentially how that's going to change, because they've not been subject to any of the rules, any of the regime that they're going to have to do. But what's going to happen, and what I think is going to happen, is we're coming out of the lockdown. Now, down south, they're coming out of the lockdown a lot quicker than we are, and the Tory government are pushing it harder and harder, and pushing for more people to get back into work and to get back to what they're calling the new normal. And they're going to do it faster than us. And all the rules around universal credit are controlled from Westminster. And any changes to the system, any changes to these things, happening at the end of June, if it happens down there, it won't matter what the devolved countries are doing within their system. If they're going a bit slower, the DWP will only be working to one set of rules, and that'll be the set of rules that are set out for down south. So as we see more and more people going back into work, once they start to get the economy moving again as they want, the government is going to push for similar normalising within the DWP. Obviously, it can't go back to exactly the way it was with full job centres, but there's ways and means. I mean, we're doing it just now. I don't know how many of these Zoom meetings I now do. My whole work now revolves around online meetings. I think what will happen through the DWP, there'll be more and more telephone interviews with the work coaches and what have you. And I think the regime is actually going to start to tighten up once we get to the end of June. The other big thing I think that is going to happen is people that are actually in work and have been furloughed, so they're actually still employed in reality, the government's paying 80% of their wages. Now that's guaranteed up to the end of October, but at the end of July, what is going to happen is the government is going to expect employers to be paying a portion of this furloughed rate. Now, I know from my work with apprentices and speaking to some of the smaller employers who have apprentices, they're telling me that potentially at the end of July, they're going to be letting people go. Now, we can see what's happening over the course of this period with, today, there's Rolls-Royce just announced there's going to be hundreds of redundancies there. We did a meeting, our first meeting was on the oil and gas industry in the North Sea. Now, they are predicting that over this coming period, sort of over the next year or so, 30,000 jobs are going to go just in the oil and gas industry. So Rolls-Royce having redundancies, Frankie and Benny's, there's a whole host of the hospitality industry are now telling people that they're up for redundancy, or they've told them they're redundant. I actually see a stream of companies getting passed through me, of companies that are closing down, have went into receivership, and all these workers are going to be new into the universal credit regime. So I think as activists, and as we've always been doing, our work is going to be more critical over the next, to me, from the end of July onwards, because I could see more and more people, even more than there are now, applying for universal credit. There'll be more new people going on to it, and there'll be more need for us to get the information out there about how you tackle this, how you get onto it with the minimal fuss, what all the rules are, and making people aware. And I think I would like to take from tonight is that should be our plan of action, both as a People's Assembly and Unite Community, and certainly Unite the Union. We should be taking this forward as a major campaign. So we're ready for it. It is going to happen. Unemployment is going to go through the roof. There's going to be more and more people faced with having to go into universal credit. And that's something that we are going to have to prepare people for. And we're going to have to try and engage with these people that are new onto the universal credit thing, that have not felt the whole system as it has been working. And as myself and Maureen and other people here I know that do work on the streets helping claimants, about what they're telling us is the reality of the universal credit system, what they're facing when they're in it. To me, it's only going to get worse. And as a movement, we're going to have to be ready to help these people. And we're going to have to be ready to start campaigns now. We've been campaigning, People's Assembly and Unite the Union nationally have been campaigning to get universal credit stopped and scrapped. And that's been our stance for a couple of years now. Well, it's been the People's Assembly stance ever since universal credit came in, to be honest. But certainly Unite came out a couple of years ago and changed their policy to stop and fix it, to stop and scrap it. And I think we've got to ramp up that campaign, because the whole thing has died a wee bit, because obviously we're stuck in the house, we can't get out and meet people, and it's getting harder and harder to get stories from people as well. So we've got to be prepared, we've got to get the booklets reprinted, we've got to make them available online, and we've got to get this information out to people. And I'll just leave it there and then we'll get on with the discussion.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Tam. Just on the point about the booklets, if anybody wants to get a copy of the link to the booklet, if not the physical booklet, because it's hard to get a hold of stuff just now and get it posted out, if they put into the chat, just send it to Jamie and we'll take a note of your email and we'll send that out to you after the meeting. Similarly, if you want to be kept in touch, keep in touch with People's Assembly and or Unite Community. If you put your emails in there, we'll make sure you join the mailing list and you join with everyone else. Should have said that earlier, sorry about that. Okay, thanks very much.
Can I just jump in there just very quickly, Keith?
Surely, Tam.
On the People's Assembly Scotland page, in the file, there's a files tab you can actually go in, and the Unite Community People's Assembly booklet is actually on there, so you can actually download it straight from there as well, a PDF. So anybody that's on Facebook could actually go and download that just now, and you could go in and share it as well. You can actually go and open that up and share it on your own Facebook page and what have you.
Okay, that's a good tip. A couple of folk have said they want it sent direct to them, and Jamie can take a note of that for the chat, but there's two ways of getting it. Okay. Maureen, do you want to say an introduction before, just about some general points before we actually go into the individual questions?
Well, up until, well, since about this time last year, Fife Council has put in money to help people who are transitioning or are new claimants onto universal credit, so that they get in touch with their housing officer week 1, week 2 into their claim for universal credit, and agree with the housing officer that they're going to go and rent direct. You know how you can do that in Scotland. You can get it paid direct from the DWP to your landlord, to the local authority. So provided you agree with that, they immediately put 2 weeks rent onto your rent account. And once you've got your payment 5 weeks later, if you agree to put another 2 weeks rent on, at that point you would be due to put in 5 weeks rent. If you put in 2 weeks rent, they will top that up by a further 2 weeks. So in total, the council will be putting 4 weeks' rent onto your rent account, which isn't a bad thing, especially at that time when you get that money in your hand and you've been robbing Peter to pay Paul, you've been beside yourself because you've not had any money for 5 weeks. The temptation has always been for people to just pay bills with their rent money, or indeed they might not even know that it's for their rent. So that's what they're doing, and they've continued to do it. They've put another £1 million into the pot in order for that scheme to continue. And now they've put a further £1 million into the pot to help people who've been affected, whose income has been affected by the coronavirus. So that people have been furloughed. I'll just go down the same procedure as I've just mentioned about the 2 weeks, and then paying the 2 weeks, and then getting a further 2 weeks onto their thing. For those who are self-employed, nobody will have got anything yet, because, and I have to put the proviso on that this only relates to council tenants. So for people who are self-employed, they need to wait to June until they find out exactly what they're getting by way of their 80%. So once the council has the figures, they will put in 20%. They'll top the person's up by 20%, so that their full rent will be covered. But they have to apply for that. But as I say, that is now going ahead until the end of June, even though the scheme came forward a bit in May. But it's better than having nothing at all, I suppose. So I hope that makes sense, does it?
Okay, just to put that in a bit of context, because I think folk maybe missed the beginning of that, is that for that special provision, there's 32 local authorities in Scotland. That special provision that has been put in place by Fife Council. Our understanding is that North Ayrshire Council has similar agreements, and I think what the People's Assembly and Unite Community were saying, it would be saying, is that all 32 local authorities should be putting similar supports in for people who are claiming, who are claiming universal credit or are part of the furlough scheme, because the local authorities can do that, and it doesn't affect the other aspects of the benefit system. So it's worth inquiring out with those two areas if anything similar exists, and if not, well, you should be asking your elected representatives why not. So that was actually that was the question that Maureen was answering, if you like, but I don't think we managed to get the question out.
I mean, it is a big help to people who are going on to universal credit for the first time, because they're all over the place, and the rent is just the last thing that on their mind, because they're in such a state. I've
got a variety of questions here that people have sent in. So what I was going to do is just go through those kind of one at a time. And one is, this has come in, I've been told I can't claim universal credit because my wife works full time.
Okay. Well, much would depend on how much she's earning, first of all. I presume that the person's had an assessment by the DWP, and that is actually the case. If not, I would certainly say go and have an assessment first of all. What I would be advocating that this person does is to claim the New Style Job Seekers Allowance, because that is based on your national insurance contributions over the last 2.5 years. So provided you've been working and paying the right amount of national insurance contributions, you should qualify for the new style job seekers allowance, in which case nobody in the family's income affects that at all, and it doesn't matter what savings you've got or anything like that. So it's purely and simply on the fact that you've been earning. So yeah, I would be saying, claim job seekers allowance. Also, it would be worth checking whether the old employer would hire you back and put you on furlough. That would be better all round. But that would be my answer to that. There might be other people who have other things to say, I don't know.
Okay. Does anybody want to comment on that, or do you want us to go through the other questions? I know that Lynn has asked a specific question, Maureen. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. It's in the chat group. Private renters aren't always getting rent breaks for furloughed staff due to rent agencies. Any advice about that?
From the point of view of the renter?
Lynn, do you want to ask the question?
Hi, yeah, certainly. It's actually, ironically, it was a situation that cropped up with my daughter. She now lives up in Dundee with her fiance, who's a full-time student at Dundee University. He actually goes into the period of the summer holidays where obviously any of the kind of, what do you call them, grants and things, like bursaries and things, all stop. They're in one of these kind of letting agency situations, and they contacted them obviously when the kind of rent breaks were getting given to renters all over the place for months.
Lynn, you're awful fast for me. I don't know if it's your accent or what.
Sorry, it's probably as I'm used to doing that in our place. Sorry. Just obviously due to the fact that she's through a letting agency. The letting agency have told them that there's no breaks being given to private renters if it's done through an agency. Because they're not getting the same breaks, I suppose. Yeah, they're not getting that's pretty much it. Because the renters aren't basically going to be paying them, they won't get the commissions off of the kind of private landlords. So they're stuck in a situation where they're paying out like £500 a month rents when none of them are working. One of them's a full-time student, now no longer getting kind of bursaries and things like that, and she was only working in a local coffee shop, so she's not exactly getting great wages to start with. They've been told they don't qualify for any universal credits at all. It's madness.
Is that one we'll need to think about, Maureen? I think Maureen's going down again.
That's a strange one because the rules around students and universal credit and what have you are a bit of a minefield. It's just, you mentioned for furloughed staff, has your daughter been furloughed? Is that what you're saying?
She has been furloughed. She'd only been there for about 3 months, and the work was quite sneaky, I suppose. They actually started reducing the amount of hours because she's on one of these 0-hour contracts, which I hate to start with. But they started reducing their hours right before. Obviously, they had to close down, so they started furloughing them based on what they'd only had over, obviously, the last 8 weeks, and they'd already started reducing the hours. So she's on an even lesser wage than what she would have been normally. And because of that, I mean, they're sitting just now. I'm trying to send them money up whenever I can right now, but she's sitting working a house or two, massive rents, all your normal expenses. They bought their first car and things like that, which they're actually just debating whether or not they might have to give back now, just because of the situation they're in. I mean, it's horrendous to think about when a young couple have managed to do so much. She's only in her 20s, but it's ludicrous. They don't qualify for any help at all, any assistance under the universal credit schemes. It's baffling, to be honest.
So, see this one, Keith, this would maybe be better emailing the details and we'll have a look at it, because I don't see, if she's working in a coffee shop and she wasn't doing full-time work,
she was up until they started realising that they were going to be getting this, because it's a 0-hour contract, but she was pulling about kind of 37, 38 hours a week, but they started dropping it down to kind of part-time right before the 8 weeks. when they realised there was going to start being issues. It was basically the minute it started hitting, they started realising it, and everybody get dropped down. But because it's a 0-hour contract, she was.
See, initially what I would have said was, I mean, I was in a situation where I had to go part-time because I had to take my daughter on. As soon as I went part-time, because my wages went down and I needed money for my daughter, I was able to claim universal credit.
She didn't claim it straight away because she didn't realise what was going to happen. Young lasses, you know what it's like. You're trying to kind of tell them, but you know the best.
Lynn, can I suggest that in the chat column, if you send a private message, instead of to everyone, if you hit the wee arrow and to send the details to Tam, including your email address, and that's you seem to, it's the worst possible question I think to be asked because it's so complex. So if you could maybe do that, and then Tam will hopefully get back to you.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. Thank you.
The next question we've received is, I've just claimed universal credit. I live with my partner and 2 children, aged, well, it says 2 children, but the children are aged 7, 5 and 2. So I don't know if their partner's 7 and the Waynes are 5 or 2, but I think it might be 3 children.
Yes,
we live in a rented house and have no savings. How much can I expect to get from the DWP?
Well, it's really difficult on a medium like this to be specific, but I know that if you're claiming universal credit, as a couple over 25, you get roughly £495 as your allowance. Then there's a child element, and you would only get for 2 children £477.86.
Because of the cap.
Yes, yes. And you would get all your rent, and you would receive more if anybody in the family has a disability or is caring for somebody, a disabled person in the household. If you've got savings of £16,000 or more, you wouldn't be entitled to any universal credit, but I think they said that they don't have any savings. Is that right? But I just thought I'll just put that in the now anyway. If they've got savings of 16,000 or more, that's them. They don't get anywhere near universal credit. If you've got savings between 600 and 16,000, then each portion of £250 is regarded as for every £250 you've got over £600, you have a deduction of £1 made, and so on, so up, right up to 16,000. They disregard 600 of your savings. Does that make any sense?
I think it will make sense when we write it down and put it in the notes to accompany this.
Right. Do you want me to make it again?
Okay, or you could put it into the chat form at the side there, and that way people will have it.
Right.
Phil McGarry was wanting to come in there, so that will give you a bit of breath and to get him in. Phil, you were wanting to come in.
Yes, I've actually texted Jamie. The points and the change to the details on the application to universal credit. Do we know whether these changes are temporary or are they permanent? The reason why I'm asking that question is this: should we not think about and consider doing a supplement, a detailed supplement of the changes, and put it out to our affiliates until such times as we either rewrite the booklet or add a supplement to the booklet for general distribution? I don't know what people's views on that is, because obviously the problems about it, I think, is quite dire in relation to offering assistance to people. So you want to give them the proper information, but more importantly, have something in writing as an aid memoir.
The problem with a lot of these changes that have been made apart from the £20. The £20 remains until next April, and may or may not remain. But all the other changes potentially are going to end at the end of June, the start of July. So they're not having to look for jobs, they're not having to do this. The loan repayments being deferred, if you like. These are all potentially going to end in June, and we might rush out a supplement, and by the time we get it out there, it's all changed, Phil, unfortunately. It's one of these things. Certainly, once if things settle down and we know a longer time scale, that would definitely be worth it. To put in, because all the payments changed anyway, because there was a 1.7% increase that won't be reflected in our booklet.
Okay, fair enough then, Tom.
Okay.
Enough,
Okay,
then.
thanks for that, Phil.
Talk to you later.
Okay, cheers, Phil. Cheers. Okay, Maureen, you ready for the next question?
Okay.
Okay. By the way, these are no my partners, honestly. My partner is in poor health and doesn't work. She's received a shielding letter from the government. I've been told my employer that I need to stop work and claim statutory sick pay. Is that correct?
Well, it is an option. You could claim statutory sick pay. That pays out £94.30 from day one of your absence. And on top of that, you could claim universal credit as a couple. It doesn't say what kind of benefits she's on, if any. If she's receiving employment and support allowance, this would be taken into account and would probably cease from there on in. And if we're talking about these being temporary measures, then it's worth thinking about the long term on that. If she's receiving any PIP payments, personal independent payments, these would be ignored when they're making up the calculation, when they're doing the calculation of how much they would be entitled to. There might also be a carer's element added into the amount of universal credit, and maybe an extra bit for his wife's disability. Also under universal credit, if you're renting, you may be entitled to a housing element. Or if you're an owner-occupier, you may be able to claim a loan to cover the mortgage interest. But that latter bit doesn't kick in for 9 months, and it's repayable either when you sell the house or, their words, when you die. The preferable option, I think, would be if the employer would put you on furlough. Then you could claim a discretionary housing payment on top of the rent you can't pay because of the 20% reduction in your wages. And this way you would leave your wife's ISA undisturbed, because it's like working tax credit. Once you get into universal credit, then goodbye forever. So it's worth thinking about. And none of this, and I apologise for it being really complicated, but it's because it is. And I can't help that. I'm going to try to relay you information that I've tried to find out about these particular scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right in saying about the complexity, and I think it's why it's important that folk do meet up with folk with expertise who can give them the advice. And one of the things that is maybe worthwhile, because you touched on it there, that if people already are in receipt of some form of benefit, applying for universal credit can actually, might be necessary in the short term, but could cost them in the long term. Is there other benefits like that are worth mentioning to folk that they might not realise? Yeah,
I think working tax credit is one that's like that. If you claim universal credit on top of working tax credit, then you lose it for good. Am I right, Tom?
Yeah. Once you're on universal credit, that's it. There's no going back. The thing. the thing is, it depends on people's situations. But the reality is, anybody that wants housing benefit now, your local authority will just say, well, you have to claim universal credit.
Mhm.
So if you're on benefits and you're needing to then claim a housing benefit, you will end up on universal credit, because it's the only way now that you can actually get housing benefit through the system.
Yeah.
Okay. Just following on from that, there's a question in the chat box. Is there an obligation to employers to furlough you rather than statutory sick pay, or is that something that would need to be negotiated?
Can I just jump in there? See in this case, strangely, the government guidance to people who had people on statutory sick pay but had then started to furlough their staff was to furlough anybody that was on statutory sick pay. So that's what we've been telling people. You know, I mean, if somebody's was on statutory sick pay and their company started to furlough other workers, basically we were saying to them, you need to furlough this person as well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
There was a few cases where we got in touch with companies and got them to move people on. So I think it's something. You know, if you're working with a company and they've got the furlough scheme and you're on statutory sick pay, they should be moving you on to the furlough scheme.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely more advantageous to the worker. But I mean, I would always be saying to people, you know, if you've got a workplace dispute like that, to get in touch with your union rep, if they'll take it up on their behalf, just like Sam's talking about, he's done.
Okay, there's also one there. We've come in. Sorry, there's a question coming in. I see you're going to come in, Des. I'll just ask this question and then we'll bring you in. I had my loan payment taken from my June UC payment. Are these being put on hold, and is there any chance of any payments being increased?
I covered that, Keith. If that loan payment was the advance for somebody new going on to universal credit, so you know you've signed up and you've asked for an advance payment, that will come out of your universal credit. If it's been a loan for something else, or if it's repaying back overpayment for tax credits or any of the social loans that were there, they should have stopped. I mean, they should have stopped. And there shouldn't be anything coming off for any of those. The only thing that they're taking off now at the moment, until the end of June, is the advance payments for new claimants.
Okay, does that help, Karen? Karen, does that answer your question? Des, you were wanting to come in there?
Yeah, I'm just curious about what people might think about what's happening in Edinburgh. And child poverty in Edinburgh has doubled or trebled since the start of the lockdown. Before the lockdown, we reckon there was like 25,000 children defined as living in poverty. That is qualifying for free school meals. We reckon that's doubled or trebled since then. And so the council has to have not only give advice on benefits like universal credit, council has to give out thousands of food parcels every fortnight. Members of the EIS teachers are involved distributing those parcels. There's food banks all over the place. There's a food bank in my own part of Edinburgh, which distributes parcels to people. So what I'm thinking about is that, you know, looking forward, looking to the future, support that people need is universal credit, but also a whole range of other services like food and food parcels. And how do we get all this coordinated and enhanced, because it isn't meeting need in Edinburgh. And then I was at a council virtual meeting last week, and it said that city council is doing studies saying that they're anticipating a second lockdown. As the first lockdown relaxes, they reckon there'll be an upsurge in cases, and they're planning at this moment for a second lockdown in the autumn. And that's another factor. They're also planning for double or treble unemployment in Edinburgh from the autumn onwards. And they're predicting this high rate of unemployment will last until at least a year from now. So there's a whole context of things that universal credit is part of. And I just wonder what people's thoughts on how do we lobby for a whole package of things, not just for our universal credit. Edmund's facing a major crisis at the moment because of the consequences of the pandemic and the lockdown.
I think what's happening is, and one of the things I think that has to happen, and hopefully we're trying to do that under the auspices of the People's Assembly, is try and bring together the diverse groups who are all doing their bit in their own patch. So that in Fife, they've been fairly proactive and have managed to win concessions from the local authority. Similar to what they were talking about in terms of help with rent and stuff like that. But we need to do, because I think this can only be done by putting if you like, the country putting pressure on the elected members at every level, and them in turn putting pressure on the chancellors, be it north and south, to ensure that cash is going to be available. We are heading at best for a recession and at worst a depression. And I think, although we perhaps have not prepared well for the pandemic, we have get some sort of warning and some sort of time scale where we can actually try and plan for the economic fallout. And it's whether it works in our favour or in the capitalist class's favour. And we need to make sure it works on the side of working people. And that's it. So I would say that all of that has to come, is about groups coming together and coming with the solid evidence the likes of yourself has just provided in terms of Edinburgh. We're relying on Tam and Maureen to tell us what's happening in Fife, and I know from my own experience in Glasgow that we're talking about food banks that are increasing 60% increase in families that have given assistance since the lockdown started, and that's only those that they know about and are actually giving assistance to. We're sure it's much worth. Certainly at Unite the other week at the Area Activist Committee, we had a whole series of requests from a variety of food banks across the west of Scotland who are literally running out of food. Does anyone else want to come in on that point? I know we've got other people who are involved in food bank activity, like Sir Willie there, and others, if any of them want to make comment on that.
There's been a massive increase in Glasgow and kind of North Lanarkshire where I actually stay, in community groups having to launch their own kind of versions of food banks as well. And none of these are getting, obviously, help from governments. They're not getting kind of funded. They're basically relying on charity donations. It's amazing how many of them have kind of popped up. It's kind of mind-boggling how many of them have had to pop up, and like you said, they're all struggling for kind of donations and food, and they're doing this. Half of these are kind of volunteers just doing this out the good of their heart. It's not like they're getting any kind of pay for this. So I think it kind of needs to be highlighted how much people are relying on these places that don't get quite the same published kind of announcements like food banks, I suppose. Perhaps we should be looking at these kind of figures as well, how much these people are helping, because they don't get counted in your kind of information that gets back out to the government and the newspapers.
The whole problem with this as well that we've got to bear in mind is the Tories are going to use this as brilliant propaganda to say, look how great we are, look what we do, look how we come together, charity works. Because bearing in mind they would love to run the entire welfare system on charity. And have charitable donations. So we have to be very careful how we tackle that one. It's like, a 100-year-old man walking around his garden to raise money for the NHS. Well, I've been paying bloody national insurance since I left the school.
Exactly.
100-year-old man shouldn't need to walk around his freaking garden to raise money for the NHS. So, that narrative we have to watch, because that fits into the Tory ideology. They love charity. They would love everything to be charitable,
Aye, of course.
But you're right. I mean, there's a lot of hidden figures there, and there's a lot of hidden work that doesn't get counted anywhere for the numbers of food parcels and what have you.
I agree, Tam, and I agree with the points you make. But I think one of the things that is good that's come about, communities coming together. Now, they've come in together in emergency. What they need to do is galvanise and become a group that can actually put pressure on the councillors, on the MSPs, on the MPs to say, we shouldn't have to do this. I mean, Lynn was making the point, have we made any contact with welfare rights officers? Many local authorities have done away with their welfare rights officers because there's no statutory requirement. They don't have to have them. So they were an easy cut to make and just get rid of them. The hope was that things like the CAB would take up the slack. But the CAB is also involved in the other side of universal credit and that, and there's some folk who would say they've been compromised by that. So it's something, but I mean, I think the coming together of people's a good thing. It's about getting them to galvanise and getting to some sort of group so that we can build the likes of the People's Assembly. Folk can join Unite Community for less than 50 pence a week, get inside there, get into the organisation and put it through. I mean, I think Tam made earlier on the point about Unite's position until a couple of years ago was about reforming universal credit. I think it was because of the evidence that folk were able to present what was happening in communities that they realised this isn't beyond reform. This just needs to go and it needs to start again. So it's about getting in the tent, it's about getting organised and coming together. And I know that's glib and maybe easy to say, but I mean, it's about setting up those lines of communication with the elected members so that they're not just listening to, the officers' view of things, they're actually getting it for folk on the ground and actually, what people's day-to-day reality is. I mean, I think, what Des was saying just about the increase in free school meals is incredible. And I mean, I've heard teachers here who are at hub schools who are going out and taking food parcels to Waynes who otherwise would not be getting anything at all because of the situation they find themselves in. It's dire. It's Dickensian poverty we're looking at.